Hello again from my front porch. It is Sunday the 21st of January and it's a little bit overcast, a little bit rainy, dreary day here in Iowa. It was a bright sunny one yesterday. Actually, because of the warmer temperatures that we're having right now, it does mean that a lot of that icky white stuff that I don't like so much has gone away. In fact, here I'll show you real quick the what it looks like outside. You get a chance to see what I'm looking at out there. See, a lot of plain look, not a whole lot of snow, which I'm okay with. I'm not I like the snow this much, and then and I know there are people like it for Christmas, and then okay, but then it can go away. But I know it's gonna be short-lived because I think we have snow in the forecast tomorrow. So I know it's gonna probably be back. Excuse me. So today I want to address relationships and being realistic about relationships. And the reason that I'm doing this is because, sadly enough, the beautiful Brandy and I have decided that our relationship had gone as far as it was going to go at this point. What we actually determined was we make really good friends, but we didn't match up as well in the other relationship areas. And I'm not going to go into details, it doesn't matter. Point is, she and I had a very mature, very adult conversation where we talked about these things. We talked about what each of us was feeling. We talked about our concerns about the future. And frankly, what we were most concerned about was if we continued on, the things that were just kind of little problems now would continue to grow and continue to be there and could potentially become big problems down the road, and at some point we would break up with a lot of yelling and shouting and blaming, and neither of us wanted that. Neither of us wanted that for ourselves or for the other person. And so again, we took a very mature, objective look at what each of us was looking for in a relationship, and we just decided that that at least at this point in time, we're not linking up as well as we had hoped that we would. And yes, I am sad because I did come to consider Brandy to be my best friend. And right now we're friendly, but we're not going to be friends. There has to be a little gap. There has to be some distance now between us because you've got to reestablish and realign. But we are both hopeful that someday we will be able to resume the friendship aspect of the relationship and be able to build on that, because again, we agreed in the conversation that we were awesome friends, and if we had just stayed with that, if we hadn't gone into a romantic relationship, if we had just stayed friends, we'd be so incredible right now. In fact, we probably were better designed to be roommates than than in a relationship kind of situation, because we really do complement each other, but just not in all the ways that each of us needed relationship-wise. And so, again, we parted ways very amicably, very maturely. It's still painful. I'm not gonna say it was easy, but it was handled in a good way. And the reason I'm sharing this is not because I'm fishing for sympathy or anything like that. I mean, a couple reasons I'm sharing it. One, because you all have met Brandy and you need to, I felt you deserve to know about this change. But also because I wanted to use what she and I just went through as a little bit of an example to present some challenge or some encouragement to others. See, for better or for worse, I have found myself in the role of being kind of a Dr. Phil to a number of friends who will, and family members at times, who will reach out to me and want to know my advice on different things. I assume that means they think that I have some wisdom to offer. But I'm happy to help people in that way. But a lot of times those conversations center around relationship kinds of things. And as I got to thinking about what Brandy and I just experienced, I realized there's a lesson in here to pass on to others. And then, as luck would have it, a really good friend of mine and we were messaging this morning about relationship stuff because she was having some trouble with her relationship. And it wasn't that she was reaching out to me for advice kind of things, but she was kind of wanting to get my opinion on things, to get a different opinion than just hers, or to find out, was she off base, or was she thinking correctly about things and stuff. And so in the course of that conversation as well, I realized she was doing things the right way, because she got upset about something that happened between them. But while she and I were messaging this morning, she started interacting, started messaging with him, and started bringing up this recent thing that had happened, and trying to discuss it with him. And I realized that it's cliche, but now I've got two examples in a very short period of time that reinforce this concept of communication is huge for a relationship. I know it's trite, I know it's cliche, but it's so very true. Now, in Brandy and I's case, maybe we could have communicated better earlier on. Maybe that would have changed the dynamic of some things. I'm not totally convinced that it would have, because again, I think that the things that we weren't necessarily connecting with as well, I mean, whether it's timing or it's stuff going on in life or whatever, I don't know that it would have made a difference if we would have communicated better about some of those things. But in wrapping things up, we had incredible communication. We were able to sit and talk to each other as mature adults. There was no blaming, there was no yelling, there was no putting somebody down, there was none of that. We talked to each other as equals, and we were able to do that because we had a relationship where we saw each other as equals, where we treated each other that way all along. That is the point that is important. And my friend reaching out to her boyfriend and trying to talk about this reason, it's because they can talk, because they can have that connection. So if you are in a relationship where you do not feel like you can talk to the other person about what is going on, that's a huge red flag. Don't just ignore that. Don't just sweep that under the rug. Now, I'm not saying that in and of itself means end your relationship. No. Even though I've been divorced, I am still a firm believer that when you get into a relationship, you should try to make it work if it's possible. And Brandy and I, if it would have been a matter of us just, let's just tweak this little thing and then pieces fit together, we would have done that. That's not a question. But sometimes the pieces don't fit, and in those cases, you do have to figure out what you're going to do. But you can't just assume that because the other person isn't making changes to meet you or to address the issue you're having, that it's because they don't care or because they're blowing off the issue. It very well could mean they don't even know there is an issue. Think about it this way. When you go to a restaurant and you order your food and they bring your meal and it's not made exactly right, you have two choices. You can either, number one, say, it's close enough, I'm hungry, I'm going to eat it anyway, and then get to the end of the meal and be like, the service is okay, but they screwed up my meal, so instead of 20%, I'm going to leave 10, or maybe I'm not going to leave any tip because that waitress or that waiter couldn't get my order right, so and then leave. Or you could say, excuse me, waiter, waitress, this isn't quite right. Could you do something about this? Doing that lets that other person know there's a problem, lets the waiter, waitress know there's a problem, and gives them opportunity to be able to fix it, to be able to do something, to take it back and bring you something fresh, give you a free dessert, give you a discount, whatever. And then when they do that, you'll probably be like, I appreciate it, that was nice. And you give them the 20% tip and you're on your way. Because the first scenario, you leave without giving a tip, without saying anything, and all the waiter or waitress does is think, geez, what a jerk. They don't know that there was a problem. They think you were the problem. In relationships, the same thing works. If you don't communicate to the other person that you're having the problem, They never know there's a problem, and it festers you inside, but it never becomes something that you can take care of. And so, or that the other person can take care of. And so make sure that you're communicating. Make sure you're sharing it. Now, in our case, Brandy and I, we did discuss things. I don't want to give the wrong impression. Just again, it's that things just didn't work out in that sense, and that happens sometimes. But if you're in a relationship where you're not sharing that information with the other person, you can't expect them to make any changes. You can't expect them to address it. Even more than that, if you're in a relationship where you don't feel like you can express it, that the other person is not going to listen, that the other person is not going to receive it, that the other person is going to turn around and shift the blame to you, they're going to call you names, it's going to result in a big fight because you brought up something that's bothering you, that is a huge flag, huge red flag. That is not normal. That is not the way a relationship should work. And if you are in that kind of relationship right now, that is not the way it's supposed to be. You need to make some choices. And the first choice I'd recommend is there a way to fix that? Is there any way that you can talk to that person? And if there's no way that you feel you can talk directly to that person, is there a way to find someone that can mediate that, a counselor or even a mutual friend who's willing to sit the two of you down together and sort of, manage that conversation? Whatever the case may be, you need to have the conversation, because it very well could be that when you say, this is what is bothering me, that the other person goes, I didn't even know that was, I wasn't aware that I was doing that. I was oblivious. And if you do it soon enough, there's chance of fixing it. Now, there can come a point where there is a point of no return. Understand that. But if you actually care about the relationship, you try to make it work. Now, if it turns out that you can't make it work, or if there are situations that make the relationship problematic, then I understand the need to break that off. I have known individuals who even have been in marriages where, not again, even though I've been divorced, I'm not saying, well, everyone should get divorced. No, I still firmly believe that when you make that marriage vow, that you really need to try everything you can to try to fix that before it falls apart. But that doesn't mean that every marriage can be prevented from falling apart. That is the reality. And I've known individuals who've been in what I would simply describe as abusive relationships, whether physically, mentally, emotionally, whatever, where there have been various problems and issues of how one spouse treats the other spouse, and it resulted in divorce. And in those situations, I have to say, I don't have as much a problem with that. Because if you're going to be in that kind of relationship, you're going to commit to that, then you also need to be committing to taking care of the other person, not treating the other person like they're, your property or a slave, or, just, taking them for granted kind of stuff. Because that's not healthy. Just saying I do doesn't mean that everything is, fair game from that point on. No. So that communication thing, I really wanted to emphasize that because, again, Brandy and I, we even joked after we had the conversation where we agreed in that the tension between us went down because we felt like we were again back on the same page. Sadly it was kind of the last page, if you will, using that analogy, but still we felt like we were back in sync in our mutual vision of where things needed to go for us. And after that, we were able to continue to chat a while and joke about some stuff. And we both commented that it was just so wonderful to be able to talk about something like that as adults. And in fact, Brandy said that she had a litmus test for when she first decides whether she's going to go out on a second or third date with somebody. Now, I did not know this until we had this recent conversation where she said that one of the things she evaluates is what kind of personality does this guy have, and if things don't work out And if we wind up breaking up, what is that breakup going to look like? How is he going to act? Is he going to be mature? Is he going to be an adult? Or is he going to be a real jerk about it? Ironically, apparently, she felt that I was going to be able to handle that kind of situation if it were to end at the beginning, and that's why she was willing to keep going out with me. So it's kind of ironic that, I guess I'm glad that she was proven right at the end. And people have said, people have complimented now that it speaks well of both of us that we were able to have that kind of adult conversation. And I will accept that compliment. But it's not like it shouldn't be all that unique. That level of adult respectfulness should be something that everybody has. That there's no reason that a breakup should result in hostility. Now, if one of the people in the relationship has done a lot of bad stuff and completely violated the trust and the nature and the foundation of that relationship, then okay, yeah, I guess I could, those would obviously be exceptions. there might be cause for a lot of that kind of intense emotion. But anyway, I think it is completely realistic to go into a relationship and to do so as an open-eyed, thoughtful adult, being able to embrace the emotion and give yourself to the feelings that come about because of that, but to still also treat the other person like a fellow adult. Things don't always work out the way we want them to. Case in point. That doesn't mean that we have then permission to just treat other people like crap. When you're breaking up a relationship, you are breaking up with somebody who at least at one point you felt very strong feelings for, and you probably still do. That's in fact, I suspect, why so many relationships that fall apart fall into all of the shouting and the screaming and the yelling, because of the actual raw emotion that is trying to figure out why. And now you've told me you want to break up, you've hurt me, and so now I'm gonna, with this passion, with these emotions, I'm going to focus them and lash out at you to hurt you too. I think that's where a lot of that kind of stuff happens. But you shouldn't do that, because that's still the person that you cared about, and they're still a person, and you should talk to them better than that. And so I wanted to use this opportunity to be able to share with you, the sad news about that development with Brandy and I, but also I really felt like between that and, again, the conversation I had with another friend this morning, I really felt like there was a real important message to be said here. Because here's the deal. If you're in a relationship, you deserve to be happy. The relationship is not just about what you do for the other person. You deserve to feel like you are getting what you need in that relationship, and you ought to be able to tell that other person what it is that you need. Because if they're not listening to you, if they're ignoring what your needs are, again, that's a huge red flag. That's a problem. You need to be able to have the level of communication to be able to say, this isn't working for me. It's working for you, but it's not working for me. It's important to be able to say that, to be able to express that, and to be able to do so in an adult conversation. So, I challenge you, if you're in a relationship that you're not happy with some aspect of it, consider what part of it makes you unhappy, and how can you address it? What can you do about it? That's what I would like to leave you with. Now, I've got my coat on here. You see I'm a little spiffy because the Iowa Wolves actually asked me to come and sing National Anthem for them today. Now, their game is at 4 o'clock, so it's a little earlier than normal. So I'm going to get going and head down there. My friends Jack and Tara and their daughter are joining to go to the game as well. And so we're going to have some fun cheering on the Iowa Wolves. And I look forward, once again, to getting a chance to sing the National Anthem for them. So, there's this heartbreak. There's the sadness of the relationship with Brandy kind of coming apart as it did, but life goes on, and I will go on, and she will go on, and we do hope that eventually our paths are able to cross again, and that we're able to support one another in a true, strong friendship type of way. But in the meantime, we are both going to be pursuing a fresh path for each of us. And I know that you all will be supportive of me, and any of you that know Brandy, you'll be supportive of her. And in the meantime, I appreciate all of you for just always being there, listening to me babble away. All right, I gotta get going. So with that, I'll see you next time from my front porch.